So, hello and welcome back to another Improvement Season podcast. It is me, Pascal Steve. On the other end, it is Steve Hall. Lots of things happened over the weekend, which is something that we are going to discuss. It's the WNBF Worlds and nothing privately. And also, of course, we're coming to the tail end of this year as well. So probably we'll talk a little bit about Christmas period, another year in the books, right? Another week in the mesocycle and all that kind of stuff. So let's delve into things. So Steve, first and foremost, as always, how are you? Are you fine? Are you good?
I was just saying to Pascal off air that I'm catching, like, we all have those times where we try and be our best with sleep. Like, generally day to day, I try and do my best with sleep. But every now and then, I don't know, it could be like a social commitment or just life happens where things get away from you. And it was just it's so funny complaining about this because I had a chat with a client and he's working shifts. And I was like thinking about how I'm like an hour out. Like I went to bed an hour later and woke up an hour later, or not quite an hour later, because you never quite sleep in the same way on the back end because of work and life and everything. And like I can feel the effects of it. And he's here on shift work, which, man, that can... Like, I have a couple of clients who are like nurses or doctors, and that totally knocks them sick. So it sounds like I'm complaining on a high level, but being in week 5, like, of accumulation, which is normally the week before deload, and then having just had my sleep knocked a little bit, I'm feeling a little bit, but I'm trying to, like, I think I'll be able to claw it back through the week. I just need to be good about, this is something that I'm like bad on, is Charlotte will get home late from work and we'll want to spend some time together. And at the moment, what's it called? I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Have you heard of that one?
I have heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, so we like watching that together again. Trash TV, it's great.
In Germany, it's called Dschungelcamp.
Ah. Do you have your own version of it?
Yes, but it's always kind of a copy from a different country, such as, I don't know, X Factor, for example, was. Yes. You can then buy the license for that format to then copy it into your kind of country.
Like Love Island's everywhere now or something.
But like so on Germany, Dschungelcamp, for example, is a bit too trashy for me.
Okay.
It's too much.
It's been in, like, the UK have had I don't know if we're the original. I think it might be the original in the UK.
Could be.
It's been around for years, and I've watched it since I was like, I don't know, like 12 years old or something stupid. Like, it's just something I've always enjoyed, like pre-Christmas time. And yeah, it's good, but it's on till 10:30, but it starts at 9. Charlotte hasn't even been home for 9 because it's Black Friday. She works in retail, all of this. So we end up like trying to catch up, and I end up just allowing myself like to push my sleep a little bit later. And I just need to be like, it's like from tonight, I'm like, nah, I'm strict. I need to like put myself first, and not, it's also just being honest. Like I could go to bed earlier. I just need to do it rather than let myself kind of do that, because ideally, and we're going to talk about this probably a little bit, I'll have a week 6 next week, and then I can finish with that Saturday session with everyone.
That's what I wanted to ask, how you're planning and doing things, but apparently it's that way, which is also very much how I'm planning and doing things. It will be probably on that Saturday, it will be my last session. And I also have some of my athletes, or at least one I can think of, who's also coming, who is also then in his last week of the mesocycle, kind of last sessions.
My Chalice will be as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's pushed for a week 6.
Yeah, so
we're all going to be like completely screwed.
Yeah, totally like, exhausted.
Everything that it will be good because we're getting a videographer. So it'll be really good for that, to like see everyone like pushing hard, because who wants to see, I don't know, 3 REL training on like a hack squat? It's not as fun as taking it to the house.
At the same time, though, I don't really want to destroy myself too much, because the fact of traveling itself is already, at least for me personally, quite strenuous. And then being in an environment like this, I think that you have the capacity of always pushing yourself from a mental capacity a little bit more so. Not so much from a physical capacity. You know it yourself when you're in a different gym environment. You don't know the equipment that well, and that holds you back physically. But mentally, you can really drain yourself out, where then for the remainder of the day, you're toast. And that's something that I don't really want to happen, especially not on the weekend where we're then all getting together.
Yeah, I know that because when we're at Das Gym, we kind of spoke about it where you feel like you're really giving it a good go. You're just not quite getting the stimulus you should be from the equipment. So, yeah, I will probably still trash myself, but we'll see. I'll probably be, by that point, I'll be so like in overreached that, but I'll hold it together. It's okay.
Yeah. On that note, again, in regards to Charlotte, how many hours per day do you think that you have together, like quality time?
So plural hours is a push. Like we're good if we have an hour.
That's crazy, isn't it?
During the week. At the moment when she's at peak with work. Yeah, it's crazy. She spends more time. This is legitimately the case anyway. I don't know if it's quite the same for you and Katie because she doesn't work, I think, as many hours as Charlotte. But she spends more time with her colleagues than me. But most people's spouse, they spend more time with their colleagues than with their partner, which is great. Like I spend the most time with flipping Ada. Yeah. she gets the most time out of me.
Statistically speaking, I think it's even a fact, Steve, that most people, if they are cheating, then it is with a colleague or they are falling in love with someone they are working together with, which just makes sense. You're spending so much time together, getting to know each other in a way that you're normally not sharing with other people, even your down days, your high days. And if then someone is, I don't know, very much into you and could see behind those kind of curtains, then these people are very much into you, you know? And I think that because you're spending so much time, it is very much easy and tempting to then fall in love, right? For you, it's then Ada. And for Charlotte, maybe a colleague. But to be honest,
Charlotte. Me and Charlotte work together.
That's true.
So
that's
it's
true.
exactly
Yes,
it, right?
see, perfect example.
I just should never have left.
Yeah. In regards then to me and Katie, it is kind of the same as well. I mean, we have 2 kids as well. And most of the time that we're then together is being spent with the kids or for the kids. Yeah. Which, if you then really think about it, you may have like an hour each and every single day together. And that hour is the hour where you are completely exhausted and you're not up for, I don't know, deep conversations or spending quality time in the sense of like really doing something together. It's most of the time we're just sitting down and watching some trash TV, which is something that I do appreciate.
Yeah, I do too. It's funny. I think Charlotte's more fatigued at that time than I am. I'm normally the one who's like, I'm ready to like not have my phone, all of that, because like I guess I get more opportunities to do that sort of like stuff during the day, whereas she's like at work and it's just kind of completely full on. And I'm not interacting with that many people through the day. So it's quite nice to have that interaction in the evening. But actually this relates to this weekend because like you said, it was the WNBF, not UK, it was just the WNBF Worlds in Seattle, which looked, it's such... what's the word? Not FOMO isn't the word because that's fear of missing out. I just had complete like, as I was missing it, I was like gutted. I was just like, man, it would have been amazing to be there, just because of the caliber, the people there, like the whole 3DMJ, James Krieger was there, like crazy to just see so many people all in one place. But on the note of it, I would have wanted to watch more of the live stream, like the pro live stream. I didn't catch it. I just caught the amateur and really I just mostly watched Rob. I didn't really catch many of the other classes, but it's because the weekends are where I get my quality time with Charlotte. So it's like I can't put, I don't know, it's basically a whole show day. So hours and hours and hours of just sitting in front of a screen watching when I barely seen my partner for like the whole week. Yeah. So I didn't watch that much of it, but I've caught a lot of the highlights, which I imagine is similar to yourself. Yeah, and I don't know how about you, Steve, but I have the feeling that this year's WNBF Worlds was something that I was at least very much looking forward to due to the caliber that was actually then competing this year. Like, I'm not saying that the last years there weren't really good competitors, just the vast amount of amazing competitors that competed this year made it very, I don't know, enticing to look at and also to follow along, because it was so interesting who's going to win the title, who's competing against who, and then it was actually quite surprising who took the overall, in my opinion. Now, when you're seeing that individual, it's Brian DaCosta. There was no doubt, in my opinion.
And that you can tell just by looking at the pictures and the videos, which is always a little bit of a different story when you're seeing those people in real life. But that came as a surprise because he's someone I didn't really know about, right? Also because he is probably American, and also just from social media, you're always moving in your small little bubble. And there was so much talk about kind of Dirk and Benjamin, for example, and then also Butter, and so many other people and other athletes to focus on. And then someone came up and completely put them kind of into the shadows, which was great to see, especially this story was one out of a movie, to be honest.
Yeah, same, exactly what you said there. Brian DaCosta, he's actually, weirdly enough, I came across him a few months before Worlds, and I was like, I recognize this guy. And I heard on Natty News Daily, they interviewed him like a few weeks ago or something, and he's coached by Paul Revelia. And I think that's where I'd come across him many years ago. And I saw Matt Ogus is like, he's aware of him, like he was commenting on his things and stuff like this. So I was like, I think I'd seen him many years ago, but like he, again, like you said, he's just not fallen within our like circle of people that I followed. But yeah, when you click on his profile and you just look at some of his stuff, you're just like, this guy, like he doesn't know how good he is. Yeah. Like he is an absolute monster of a man. And when he beat Barda, I was just like, if he doesn't, like, I can't not see him taking the overall now. If he's beaten Barda, like it's just kind of, he must have, Barda is unbelievably he has so much mass, it's just unreal. So, but still, when I watched the overall, Benjamin has such nice shape. He poses so well. His condition shows through, his glutes just show through unbelievably. Like they're like perfect. Like how can you beat that sort of level of like detail through the glutes? They could be maybe deeper, but I mean, I'm like really picking at things here, right? But the mass on Brian, just, I think muscularity just trumps.
That's true. And a couple of things on that note. So first and foremost, what I just said about kind of it being like a story out of a movie when it comes to Brian. He had a very, very heartbreaking and lovely story at the same time, because I don't know when you if you heard the speech that he has given like right after he won the overall, that I think his mom,
granddad, or
could be, or maybe, don't know.
His mom's dad, was it?
Yeah, don't know who it was, but someone in his family passed away, I think a week prior to that, or somewhere in the midst of prep or so. Didn't really make anything easier, obviously, right? And I think that he wanted to take the win for this as well, also as a proof for himself, but also, I don't know, as a tribute to some extent. And yeah, it was just kind of, go ahead and go over to Brian DaCosta's Instagram, check it out, and then listen to the overall speech that he has given, because I can't really say how it was, and I don't want to say anything wrong here. But also at the same time, when it comes to Benjamin's structure, the conditioning that he brought, it's crazy to think that someone like Ibsen, so Ibsen, you know him, he came to London Seminar a couple of times already, our friend from Denmark, that someone with his size and his conditioning isn't even winning. It just speaks for itself, I think. Because Ibsen is already, I know him in real life. I know his structure. I know his amount of muscle mass, the conditioning that he was bringing. And just seeing that he didn't take the win is something that is quite crazy. And that just shows everything about the standard. And this also, once again, goes back to you never really know who's turning up. And also, there's probably always someone better than you somewhere in the world, and you shouldn't really be disappointed if you're not placing the way that you would like to. Because if someone like this doesn't even win his class, right, there's nothing to be disappointed about, because you are probably not like him.
Yeah. No, I agree. Ibsen is absolutely wild. There's a rear double bicep of the two of them kind of going around on social media.
Absolutely amazing.
I think the Natty News guys probably shared it as well somewhere, but you can head to Ibsen shared it, so you'll find him through Natty News probably, or you search Ibsen, or they'll probably come up somewhere. I can't recall his exact Instagram bio, but yeah, he's wild, and like it must have been pretty tight between them, but I think from what I've seen, I would have probably given the nod to Benjamin as well. I mean, Benjamin is unbelievable because, I mean, I think he won everything this year apart from the overall pro at the WNBF Worlds, because he won the Evo Classic, which was arguably, people would argue that's the biggest like natural show in the world. But it's like you said, you never know who's going to turn up on the day. I do want to give like a big shout out to Dirk just for the fact of coming. Like he won 2021, he went pro, he won the overall amateur class. He's come in, first season debut as a pro, and like he's someone who turned pro and was a legitimate pro. You know what I mean? Like some people turn pro and it's like, yeah, I mean, you need to do some work to really climb the ranks of pro. He came in and who was just like, I'm a pro. And like, of course he improved over the last 2 years, but still like to go and then win the pro class in the lightweights, unreal. And that was a big, like there was a lot of competitors in that class, and it was a competitive class. I think, I don't want to say it wrong. Did Jeff Alberts come third in that class? He was definitely placed in the top 5. I don't want to get it wrong.
I can't really recall exactly what placing.
That incredible by Jeff, but like it just speaks to the people will know who Jeff Alberts is, and incredible competitor. Like it speaks to the standard of competitor in that class, and yeah, it's just credit to him for just like taking all of that. That's what it means a lot.
But once again, for me personally, it was kind of the WNBF Worlds since a long time that I was very excited about, to be honest. Especially over the
2021, man.
Of course, but you can say it yourself, Steve, to be very genuine about it. The amount of competitors and the competitiveness was not there at 2021 as it was this year. Same goes, 2022 was already a little bit of a different story, but especially over the COVID years, due to restrictions of traveling and also qualifying for Worlds, people were a little bit in the air what is going on with COVID and whether it is worth prepping and all that kind of stuff, that I think that the past couple of years have suffered in terms of the excitement around something like WNBF Worlds. And this year, for the first time, in my opinion, in my perception, was once again kind of, okay, this is natural bodybuilding. And it's funny, it's ironic because it is happening in the year where people even questioned whether natural bodybuilding is that or not.
Yeah, and I've spoken about it before, where I was like, I'm to the point where the second place and in 2021 doesn't mean a whole lot to me in some ways. Like it was an incredible experience, but I'm not like overwhelmingly proud of that because I beat 2 other people to get there at Worlds. Obviously I had to get to Worlds and all of that. But I mean, it wasn't like I had a packed class like there was this year. And you saw that because every class winner got their pro card, which, to speak to Rob, who was literally centimeters away from winning. So Rob, my client, who hopefully people are aware of him and have been following his like prep throughout the season, like to come second in that class. And it must have been close, having watched it and trying to be as objective as possible, not just like putting my judge's eyes on versus just my kind of coaching want for him to win. It must have been close because I think he would win the symmetry round. I did the winner, I've forgotten his name, unfortunately. I think he's actually coached by Alberto maybe, but he I think won on muscularity. Condition must have been tight between them, but I said Rob had the most conditioned posterior, but actually this guy, not that he had more conditioning, but he was like dense and very conditioned from the rear, but just super dense muscularity. But yeah, Rob in that class, I forget how many there were. There may have been around 13 in his class, but like that's something I would be like, Rob should be unbelievably proud of coming. Anyone in that class, like to come top 5, should be unbelievably proud because there's a lot of high caliber like quality there. And yeah, it's like you said, this year, I agree with you. This year was the most special year, I think, for Worlds, which is why, as I was watching it, I was like, man, not just because to be in the crowd and cheering for Rob would have been insane. Like I was shouting at my flipping computer screen here. But to be there and just be in the crowd and see that caliber of athlete on stage, man, it would have been something real special. But
yeah,
it's all the way in Seattle. It's like, why does it have to be 11-hour flight away?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of on the other side of the world for us. Not exactly the other side of the world, but very close to it. So yeah.
So, but no, I agree. And hopefully this is just the start, you know, like there's going to be next year is going to bring out a lot of high quality competitors. But yeah, it was like, and it's like you said, every class pretty much. I don't think in the amateurs, like the lightweight class was really stacked. Middleweights, like it just got a little less stacked as you went up in body weight. Like there weren't that many like heavies. Like every class got a bit smaller. But in the pro ranks, like often the pro ranks, there's not that many. And these were stacked, like every single one. Like the heavies, that was just like unreal. Like you have people in there who are just like multiple world champions in that class. It's like, God, that's man, I would have been terrified to have been in that weight class.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, it's like you said, most of the people who were competing as a pro there, they earned it to be there. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, here's a pro card, go ahead and be a pro now. And then you show up and it's just like, you wouldn't even place in a normal kind of class. But it was a pro show. And that's something that I truly appreciate, to be honest. Yeah.
Another shout out I want to give to is the Natalie. I don't know her last name. She's Natalie H. She went pro as a bodybuilder, and she went the next day to win. Because like the cool thing is at WNBF Worlds this year, they split it over 2 days, which I thought was really good. So it wasn't just like a ridiculously long day for people. So yeah, she went the next day as a pro and she won the pro bodybuilding. And she is just so crazy conditioning, crazy lines. Like I can't remember what I said on one of she just has like a special physique, like very classy looking physique. Just unreal. People should check her out. She's again, Natty News Daily. Go check out that page.
You even said it on the latest podcast episode with Mikey Sertel, which will come out here on Saturday, that some people just have the it factor. Yes. They just have it to the physique, where just everything comes together. The aesthetics, just from the overall looks, which is then determined, of course, by the symmetry, by the shape of the muscles, by the muscle mass itself, the conditioning. It just all comes, and then also, of course, the way they present themselves, of like how fluently the flow to their posing and all that kind of stuff. And if that all comes together, they just have it. And sometimes people, you can see it. Once they set foot on stage, they don't even need to pose. You can already tell they got it. They got it. And then they start moving and you knew that they are going to move appropriately. I don't know what it is. Maybe this is what intuition, when it comes to experience is, right? Where it's just like you've seen it not so often, but you have seen it not so often that you know that this is something that is special.
Yeah. I have a real, I love those physiques, but hate them at the same time because I know this is not something I have it. Like I can't walk out. No one's going, he's got it. I was like, no. I have to like work to try and show you there's a little bit of it inside me somewhere. But I know exactly what you mean. It's funny that to the layperson, they won't understand that at all. Like Charlotte, God bless her, she can't take a good picture of me if she tries. I'm like, you make me look like I'm a skinny like teenager. Why can't you make me look like I've got some muscle on me? Whereas like someone who has that eye, like for yourself, Pascal, you can take photos of people and make them look jacked and similar. Like you can just see it in people. So yeah, you can she definitely has it. Like you see her come out, it's just like, yeah, okay, you got that. And yeah, it was a special weekend to see all of that. And again, for 3DMJ, I don't know if they've been at Worlds all together like that before, but that was really cool to see, like all of them there. And yeah, I can imagine it meant a lot. To update, Jeff did come 5th in the lightweight bodybuilding. But again, it just speaks to the quality of that class, like for Jeff to come 5th. And that's also awesome for Jeff to come 5th. Like I imagine he was the oldest guy in that class. So like huge props to him, because that's something for anyone to look up to, I think.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. No.
And I'll be getting Jeff and Eric on. I've already spoken to both of them to get them booked in to like talk through their season, basically. So that'll be really fun.
Yeah, especially like it's something that we've discussed in regards to Eric, the role model. I mean, Jeff is a role model as well, and I think it should be clear to everyone, because we've talked over the years about this dozens of times, but also then Eric as well, of perseverance, trying to constantly improve, and not just being blessed stepping on stage and then getting the pro card, or feeling as if you've earned it, even though that everyone knows that you don't. Just because you have muscle mass and you've worked out for 4 years doesn't mean that you've earned a pro card. You don't earn shit, basically, in life, right? Nothing is guaranteed. And what's it called again? When someone thinks that something is justified, that they own it. What is it called again, Steve?
Oh, I don't know.
We see it very often in our generation.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know exactly the word, and I can't think of it.
I'm completely lost now when it comes to the word.
Yeah, I know.
Entitlement. That's
it. Yeah.
Right?
Entitled.
Eric is the absolute opposite of entitlement when it comes to this. Maybe in different aspects of life. I don't know. Right? I don't know him well enough, but at least there, he's the complete opposite, and I love this because it just shows what natural bodybuilding for most people truly is. And no one is entitled to anything.
Yeah, I think I wrote a thread, or maybe it was a Facebook post a while back, where I was just like, I think a lot of people think that you can work hard enough for long enough, you will go pro as a bodybuilder, like as a natural competitor. It's like, there's no guarantees. No. There's absolutely not. And actually, I listened to Eric on, I think he was actually interviewing Mike on the Iron Culture podcast, and he was talking through how he needed to hear from someone to tell him that he had the capacity to go pro if he just kept going. And it's something that I've like, and he basically had many self-doubts and just like wasn't sure of himself. And it just made me think like, I think I need that. Like, it's hard to objectively look at yourself and like think that you have that in you, but you need, and actually Mike had it the same, where he like asked Jared Feather, and it's just like, do I actually have it in me to go pro? And Jared was like, of course you do, Mike, come on. Like, just keep going and like do the do. But yeah,
I'm a little bit more of a pessimist though, Steve. I wouldn't call it pessimistic, maybe more of a realist, because I think when someone is saying you can accomplish everything in life, you just need to work hard enough for it, I think it's a blatant lie.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree.
Right. So that. Oh, sorry. Then I totally misunderstood.
No. I don't think. Yeah, I was saying on my thread, I was like, hey, it's no guarantee you're going to go pro if you work hard enough and long enough. Like not everyone's got it in them, unfortunately. And that's where, like I was saying with Mike and Eric, they're like doubting if they had it in them, and it's like they had someone in their life who they trusted to say, I think you do.
Now I get it.
And I am like, maybe I need someone in my life to just tell me, no, Steve, you don't have it. Or maybe they tell me I do.
And sometimes, because when it comes to this and that mantra, we know there are hundreds, thousands of people in history and also currently living in the world who work freaking hard and never really reach their goals. Because they have been maybe born into a difficult environment, or an environment that doesn't allow for their dreams to become reality. Unfortunately, just imagine how many people want to become a famous actor.
Footballer.
Right? It's their absolute dream from the moment they grew up. And they do even work hard for it. And how many people do actually make it? Marginal amount, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing here as well. And sometimes it may be good to live in an ignorant kind of state of just thinking that you can do it, because then you are still working on it and still trying to improve something. So there's not only a negative side to it. Also, when other people are saying like, no, just continue. You can do this, especially when it's your parents or so. Often it stems from a position that they want to encourage you, right? But we have to also face reality that only because you work hard doesn't mean that you will ever reach your goals. And maybe it's also all right, because we've been talking about it several times already, that in my opinion, the journey is the most rewarding thing. But this is often something that you only realize when a lot of time has passed.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's actually been a challenging conversation I've had with a client over the last 3 weeks or so, where he is essentially dissatisfied with the results he's seeing. And it's just like, I just this week really spoke it through with him and was like, because he's looking at averages, he's looking at strength standards. He's like, according to those, like I should be novice. And so if I invest this amount of time, I'd expect to be seeing faster results, and other people are seeing them and I'm just not seeing them. And I was just like, hey, you're doing like a really good job of executing, and we can look at things you can improve upon, but let's be honest, there isn't that much he could improve upon. We know what causes muscle growth. Like, he is seeing progress. It's just, it is at a slower rate. And I just had to have the kind of frank discussion with him of, like you said here, there are some people that have it and there are some people that don't. And he might be on the lower end of like average genetics for growing muscle. And like, it's hard for some people to accept. And I had the, again, frank discussion with him, like, hey, you could either decide to do your best job, get the best results you can possibly, enjoy the process, hopefully make it complement your lifestyle as we are doing, or you can decide, hey, that isn't worth it to me. I'm just going to pull back a little bit and just kind of maintain what I've got. Because unfortunately, like, you can't outwork what your body can provide you. It just doesn't work like that. And
that's exactly it. And I just wanted to touch on that as well, because I'm probably going to shatter a lot of people's hardcore bodybuilding dreams right now. But you're probably not the hardest worker in the room. And your results are probably not because you think that you are the hardest worker or you're working the hardest overall. Because especially when it comes to bodybuilding is a sport of limitations when it comes to your genetic expression, so to speak. Because you can only do so much work, and the rest is up for basically the genetics. It's not that more work leads to more or better results, such as in other sports, for example, where there's a high skill component to it, right? With very little cost in terms of fatigue. Let's just say, I don't know, if you are a dart player or a snooker player, you can probably practice the entire day if you really want to, if you're really committed to the entire thing, and still recover on time. Whereas bodybuilding, if you're training hard for like 1.5 to 2 hours or so, at some point you will just reach a limit and you can't do any more on top of this. You can't then spend 5 or 6 hours in the gym and then be like, I've been working out so much more than anyone else, and that's why I'm big. Not going to happen, right? So bodybuilding in itself has little to do being the hardest worker or working hard in itself. It is more a combination of several different factors in your favor, hopefully coming together at the same time, and then taking care of the things that you can control in order to improve and increase the outcome.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. There's also, it's not even just how much muscle you can grow, because what's the giant killer is like the thing with Sean Clarida, and there are people that are giant killers like Dirk. He was definitely not the biggest on stage. He didn't have the most muscle on stage, but he's put together like a little bullet of a man, and just so well put together. And I've been beaten by people who are lighter than me, probably less muscle than me, but they're just put together better than me. And that's not to like big myself up and be like, yeah, look how much muscle I have. It's just like, I don't know, there's probably people on the Olympia stage where you can see them and they might have, actually there was this guy, oh man, what's his name? He's called like Neckzilla or something. Have you seen him?
Oh yeah. Have you seen the legs? Have you seen the quads?
His legs are ridiculous.
It's insane. Man.
Yeah, but his neck as well, it's just like the traps, and his neck is just like wider than his head. It just doesn't make sense. But like him, like unbelievable muscle, but look at him. He's an ugly physique, man. Like I don't like this.
And no, absolutely. I totally agree.
No offense to him, like unbelievable He's not going to listen to this.
He's a freak, you know, and people want to see that as well. But from an aesthetic perspective, I don't really think that it would rate as highly as someone like Chris Bumstead, for example. But if you take him, for example, as a perfect example, only because he has those amount of muscle mass on his traps and also on his quads, doesn't mean that he's the hardest worker of all of the pros on the bodybuilding stage, right? It's not the same as, I don't know, a Kobe Bryant, who then was the first on the playground and was also the last one to leave the playground, because he was then also continuing to practice the skills that, once again, had a low cost to it in terms of fatigue. Different sports allow you to be the hardest worker, where then also the rewards are being shown in then the performance itself. But bodybuilding is not like that. It isn't.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was trying to find, I'd made a infographic the other day of something like a muscle growth equation for like naturals. It was something like your, like, I don't know, environment and your like hard work put together is multiplied by your genetics. Like, so that multiplier is quite important in terms of determining. So like two people could work just as hard as one another, but one's got like a 10 times multiplier versus a 2. Yeah.
And I even think when it comes to bodybuilding, it's more kind of the pain tolerance that is more indicative of how much you can push instead of the workload that you can tolerate.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it's definitely different people have that tolerance, and I think you can grow it too. I think you get better at tolerating more over time, for sure. But
it's not that you can just because I'm working out 8 hours per day, it's not that my pain tolerance is automatically or kind of linearly increasing alongside that as well.
Yeah,
because there's just too hefty of a cost to resistance training. And often it's the physical limitation that is then holding you back.
Yeah. Unless you believe there isn't an inverted U to muscle hypertrophy and training volume, and you just keep adding sets, you just keep growing.
Yeah, that's true. Let's take a short break right now, Steve. I know it's a little bit later than usual, but let's take a short break and then be back with, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to talk about.
Do you not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We created the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger.
So back here, Steve, is there anything? I mean, it was now 1 minute of a break. Anything else that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. No, the only other things I don't particularly, we could talk through it, but I don't particularly want to talk through it that much, is the Powerbuilding controversy that has been going through the internet. If you've seen it,
no, I haven't really followed along with that
abomination. And yeah, I'm just not super interested in that discussion, particularly because I tend to take a stance of just like specificity rules.
Yeah.
In that, hey, if you want the best results at powerlifting or bodybuilding, you do one or the other. If you want a bit of both, you do both. Like, to some extent, you can do it smarter or less smart, but like that's like as far as I generally want to take that.
Also, this discussion doesn't lead anywhere, in my opinion, because people are at different stages of their lifting career, having different kind of priorities and different goals. And if you ask around what people then think, depending on their current situation, you will always get a different answer. That's why I don't even think that it's a productive one, right? Not at all, because also we know that there are so many individual differences even to hypertrophic responses as well. And I'm getting older. I'm just getting tired of discussing and talking always about the same freaking shit all the time. It's kind of a repetitive cycle. It's kind of Groundhog Day just in the fitness industry. Like every 10 years or every 5 years even, the same discussion is really being popped up here. And that's why I can also understand why someone like Lyle McDonald has gone absolutely dog shit crazy and is just pissed off the entire time, because he's been around for like, what is it now, 25 years or so? And he has probably seen those debates and discussions being talked about and debated for 25 years. And not just like once or twice, but probably like 5 or 6 times. And at some point, if it's always the same discussion, man, you're getting tired about it. And this is how I already feel. And this is a younger version, you know, and I'm already getting sick and tired of that.
You're
Because
Lyle
in the
2.0.
end, huh?
Lyle 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. I can definitely understand many ways of the way that Lyle's also talking and behaving and all that kind of stuff. Some not so much, but yeah. But in itself, I just think, man, you have this one life. You have a limited amount of time in your lifting career, so you better want to first and foremost know what you want. Secondary, then work specifically with the best methodology possible, right? And also have fun in the process. And if you want to do something like power building, knowing that maybe or maybe not it will lead to better or not better hypertrophy, it's something that you need to consider for yourself, whether it's worth taking the risk or not, you know? And then you go ahead and move on without the need to endlessly talk about this or letting other people know that you're now doing power building or whatever. It's kind of the same meme as people made fun of vegans or CrossFit athletes, that they always had to talk about it. Right?
Yeah, I totally see that. Yeah, there's little new things coming out, and in fact, the more time I've spent doing this, and particularly bodybuilding, the more I realize of just like, you can try and, there is obviously a slightly more optimal path, but I think people think it's like cycle path, but it's more like a really wide road, because there's just so many different means of traveling down that. It's not like, hey, this is optimal and you just aren't there. It's like, actually, there's probably many routes to optimal, and then there's like, yeah, these are slightly less optimal, but they're just going to take you off path a little bit. Like, as long as you kind of, I think I said something along the lines of like, bodybuilding is trying to work as hard as possible for as long as possible for as often as you can. And obviously there's many ways of going about that, and there's obviously subjectivities to what is hard, but like, you're just trying to go into the gym, create a stimulus, recover from it, and do it again as often as you can, and create as large of one as possible. And there's probably just so many routes to getting down to there. Out of interest though, Pascal, when was the last time you did a deadlift off the floor, like did a squat, low bar or high bar, and did a bench press, flat bench, barbell?
Flat bench press is something that I've tried just a while back, but I can't do this anymore apparently due to something in my right shoulder, Steve. I don't know when it popped up, but it is often exaggerated when I'm doing flat bench pressing. And I don't know when this crept up overall. Maybe I'm getting older and my body is just breaking apart now because I haven't benched in a very long time. And then I've given it a try and I was like, okay, this is weird, you know. I was then continuously working on it, then stopping it for a while, going back again. It must have been like 4 weeks ago or so where I then tried it another time, and it had nothing to do with positioning, had nothing to do with grip width or so. It's just something that I apparently can't do anymore right now, at least right now not. And then squatting must have been 3 years because it was still in my old gym. And then deadlifting, this must have been also 4 or 5 years ago, something like this. What about you?
Yeah, I think similar. I think actually similar. I think I stopped. I haven't barbell benched or deadlift off the floor since before 2020 now. So I remember trying this conventional deadlift again. It was just like, it makes less and less sense to me the more I think about conventional deadlifting for hypertrophy, especially once you're pretty strong and you've got time to do many additional exercises.
Yeah. And by the way, Steve, your SLDL is freaking strong off the floor, to be honest. 165 kilograms for reps with that straight of legs as well. Oh, I was quite impressed when I saw that over on Instagram, to be honest. But I also do remember that RDLs and SLDLs have always been strong for you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I'm not even recognizing it as strong until I put it up, and then people are like, "Holy shit, that's pretty strong."
Yeah.
And then I looked at some people who I consider like strong or using heavy loads. I was like, "Oh, actually, I'm pretty close, if not like doing more than these people."
Yeah,
like, oh.
And you have to realize as well that the way that you are executing the SLDLs is like the way that I would deem a proper SLDL to be like, and then not just like, I'm doing RDLs, and actually it's kind of like a normal conventional deadlift, but you're just calling it an RDL because I don't know how you're coming to the realization or idea that it's an RDL or anything like. But and they are then moving 200 kilograms. And it's actually more of a conventional deadlift. When looking and seeing your SLDL is like 165 kilograms, legs fairly straight even straighter than the vast majority of people that I'm seeing, and then all the way down in a controlled manner and up again. So I'm quite impressed.
I think it's one of those things. I think it's probably leverages help me. I have long arms, long torso, shorter legs. But yeah, it's not even, it's frustrating because it's kind of similar to the arms. Like I don't really care about my arms looking big anymore because they're just there. But like my hack squat, that's something I want people to look at my hack squat and be like, your hack squat's strong. It's like, that's the thing I fucking work my ass off. Straight deadlifts and RDLs have been on the back burner for like a long time, but they're the thing that just wants to keep ticking along. But it was really cool going back to the like RDL after I spoke about it on that post where I was like, I haven't done a barbell RDL for so long or straight leg deadlift. And then coming back to it and like, oh, I have more range of motion here. Oh, I can basically use the same weight with an extra 2 inches off the floor. Like, that's kind of wild. Yeah. It was just so long spending it on that belt squat RDL, which is kind of cool to be able to do that. And it's a nice sign that things back here have grown, like on my posterior chain. It's just that's not the place that I care about growing that much. Fine, like if it grows. Like I think I have a good rear double bicep already, but it's the front double that needs to look better.
Also, to go back to the discussion about especially power building and then also incorporating those heavier compound lifts, I think that this is something, and I'm now going out on a limb here, that you can probably more easily recover from when you are younger rather than when you're getting older. I have a lot of my athletes that I've worked with in the past or work with even now who are coming from a powerlifting background, fairly strong, or even did rugby in the past, also a fairly common one, who have some kind of past injury or kind of a niggle that doesn't really allow them to do certain lifts. And most of the time, it's those heavier compound lifts that they can't really do. And the older they get, the less likely it actually is that you're then still capable of doing those. So for me, personally, even though I haven't done squatting and deadlifting in a very long time, I can now say or take bench press as an example. I was always a fairly strong bench presser, but now I'm using pathetic loads, and even this gives me a little bit of joint pain in my right shoulder. So, and when I look back and when I moved my heaviest loads, this is already a long time ago. This is now kind of 6-ish, 5, 6, somewhere around this, 5 to 7 years ago or so, which in itself, I mean, I'm right now, what is it? How old am I, Steve?
Are you 35?
36, 36 now. And this may not sound like super old, which probably isn't, right? But if you've been lifting for a while and also you've used your body, at the end of the 30s, I think that you will start to notice that you have used your body. Unless you have rock solid joints such as yourself, Steve.
I'm hoping that I don't go that way. I'm 33, so I'm getting there. What was I going to say? Yeah, I remember, reflecting on your bench, do you remember being in Vauxhall, the gym, and like having a bit of a bench off with someone? I can't remember who it was.
With David Nolan.
Yes, David Nolan. That's
Yeah,
who. Yes, and he was like he's a bit heavy, like quite a bit heavier than you, bigger guy. And you were like, you were pushing each other on that. Like I was like, how the fuck are you benching this much? I can't get close.
Yeah, and I was even. He was preparing for a powerlifting meet, and I wasn't even in that ballpark anymore. It was just out of fun, and I think that I did a single for 135, because we were challenging each other, and
I've never done a single at 135. I don't know I haven't done a single in I don't know how many years now, but
the heaviest that I ever went was one single for 145. But that's a long time ago. Man, I'm old, man. I've told you about that girl that I've seen at the gym, right? Was it last week? No, last week. Yeah, Steve, here's a story. For every listener as well, now you have a good laugh and now you realize how old I actually am or what makes you feel old. So at my gym, I'm always training early in the morning whenever the doors are being opened. And for everyone who does that as well, you know that there are always the same people around. So there's this one girl. I knew that she's younger because I had a couple of chats already in the past, but I didn't really know how young she actually is. So we had a conversation before the doors opened. And then I talked about and back in 2008, I moved to Neukölln and Berlin. She was just like chiming in and saying like, oh, well, 2008, I was 4 years old back then. Holy shit, 4 years. And now we are standing here talking to each other. This makes you realize that you're much older than you actually realize.
Anyone born in the 2000s,
it's crazy,
you're too young.
It's great. Exactly. Once you cross the threshold of having a 2 right at the beginning of the years, to me, in my eyes, you're still a baby, but actually, you're already then 20 or could be 23 years old. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think of this. Do you ever see those, they're kind of memes or infographics or just posts on Instagram where it's like, if you know what this is, like a childhood toy, you're old as fuck. Like I see these and I'm like, that was my childhood, like to the T. Damn. Yeah,
people will never really experience the struggle of recording a tape for your tape player from MTV Top 20, and then you're hitting the record and play button, but you needed to stop in between because of the commercials, and you didn't really want to record the commercials. That was proper work back then. And now you're just going over to Spotify and listening to your favorite tracks. Yeah.
Times have changed. I can't even imagine
the struggle was real.
Yeah,
struggle was real.
We're definitely getting it. We haven't spoken about. I have one small thing because people always like a small anime section. Mm-hmm. We last spoke about Pluto a little bit. Mm-hmm. I finished Pluto now. Mm-hmm. It was good. Actually, I think it was the second episode really hooked me where I was like, they've spent a long time building this like narrative between these two characters and it didn't disappoint me. I was like, oh, I like that. That was good.
What did you think about the episode with North number 2?
That's the one.
Is it episode number 2?
It might have been 2. So it was one of the earlier episodes.
Yeah. I think it was episode number 4, but I could be wrong because the episodes are very, very long with 1 hour. So it could be that it felt like it was 4, but in reality it was 2. But yeah,
that's the one that kind of hooked me.
Yeah, it was. And that's what I said. This episode is one of the greatest anime episodes that I've ever watched. Like, honestly, it hooks you so much. I don't want to spoil anything.
They just build tension.
Yeah, and also the connection that they are building in such a short time frame. You are understanding everything about the machine, but also then the piano player as well. And it was just so freaking lovely. Yeah. In such a short period of time, that is pure art, in my opinion, to create such a strong connection to those both of the characters and their relationship with another that you really feel for them. Yeah, and also the music. I always like proper music in the background, which is also why I do love Attack on Titan so much, because the soundtrack is freaking amazing.
I often listen to the music. Actually, just talking about this is. I might send it to you. I was like, you'll either love this or hate this. This guy's basically doing a remix of one of the Attack on Titan songs.
Oh, no.
It's like,
that's not for me.
I was like, you'll either love it or hate it.
I'm more like a boomer. I'm listening to the Requiem, where there's a huge orchestra now playing of course, different songs, and that is more my thing. And I was even saying to Katie, like, how can I organize it so that there's a big orchestra coming to Berlin into the Philharmonie, which is where the orchestra is most of the time playing. How can I arrange this? How can I make this happen that someone is actually playing all of those tunes in Germany? Is there one way or another? But I'm, of course, no event manager who can make this happen. Or I could probably make it happen somehow if I really want to. But I don't want to.
Might cost a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of time, lots of resources, and all that kind of stuff. And because I'm of the opinion that you can probably manage something like this if you really want to. But yeah, no.
I would totally go.
Yeah, I mean, I was even considering, because it was 1 or 2 years ago, there was a concert in Tokyo, of actually flying to Tokyo for something like this. But I mean, it is a little bit far-fetched.
That's a big commitment.
Yeah, exactly.
If it was part of a holiday, that would work.
but still, I mean, come on. Let's be real here. That is quite a commitment, and also a little bit far-fetched. I wouldn't really leave the greenest fingerprint behind just to visit a concert in Tokyo.
Yeah. I've seen some of the like videos of like people being at those like orchestras and stuff, and I'm like, man, that would be so cool. But I like all the remixes. I don't know, I get a kick out. That's what I listen to when I train. So I'm just like, when I saw that, I was like, Pascal will either love or hate this. So now I know you'd hate it. But I was like, it was like when the like wife and groom love like Attack on Titan, and you're at their wedding and it's like playing a normal song, and then he remixes in like this Attack on Titan.
No, that's not for me. Like dubstep remixes, minimal electro remixes, and all that kind of jazz.
That gets me going. That gets me going so much.
No. Give me a classical version of it, and then I'm good for it. But please, no dubstep or anything I like.
What music do you listen to when you train?
It always depends, but this is also where then the boomer inside of me comes out, because I haven't really listened to a lot of new music anymore, because I think that everything is garbage. So like very much the old man shouting at the sky how awful music is nowadays, you know? So I'm listening to a lot of classic in the sense of like older hardcore music, metalcore. Then also I've rediscovered basically like 2000, what is it? 2005, 6-ish to 8-ish emo, especially like My Chemical Romance. Back then, I didn't really realize how freaking great the first album is, but it is the shit. It is the shit. Right, stuff like this. Sometimes I'm listening to also just like indie rock music that I've listened to back in the days, but that's most of the time it. Yeah, and I know that you are listening to more kind of remixes, dubstep, and all that kind of stuff, right?
Anything with like a big beat that just like really ramps up my heart rate. That's basically what I listen to. I'm just like, yes, go, because I'm really bad for I don't listen to the words at all. Like I just hear beats in my ears, and but I'm not like it's similar to coffee. Like I can drink and appreciate like a semi good coffee versus a poor one, but I don't know the differences. The same with me. I've never been that way with music. I've never been that fussed by music either. I've just been like, oh, it sounds cool, great. Like I can rave to this or something, but like I haven't got a good ear for good music. Yeah,
which is also fine. I mean, music is supposed to just give you some kind of feeling, and if dubstep gives you that feeling in the training session, I think that there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I'm also I've also rediscovered the old albums from Rage Against the Machine, because I haven't really listened to those kind of songs in, I'm not lying when I say like over 20 years, because this was the music that you've listened to when you were like 14, 15, 16 years old, were wearing kind of a Che Guevara t-shirt and all that kind of shit, which is absolutely bonkers if you really think about it. And if you're actually doing a little bit of digging who Che Guevara was, wearing it on a t-shirt is just like ridiculous, but this is a different story. But Rage Against the Machine was back then the things that you've just listened to, right? And I haven't really listened to those albums in such a long time. And at some point, I think I heard Bomb Track. again on Instagram, on one of the Instagram posts or so, and I was just like, holy shit, yeah, I should give this a listen again, because 20 years have passed. You're now listening to music with different ears, because you're now much more mature, you're an adult, you have much more experience in life, and also it's the same when it comes to watching some movies. You're watching them completely differently, especially when it comes to older comedies. You're laughing about different jokes nowadays instead of what it is that you laughed about like back then. And it's kind of the same with music. And also some of the earlier stuff from Rage Against the Machine is just absolutely killer. And I definitely understand why they were the thing back then. And it's basically, I'm just always rediscovering old shit. That's the thing.
No, I can appreciate that. I recognize the names of the bands that you're talking about. I can't picture the music that they do, but yeah, I know, like you said, people have different tastes and personal preferences, and I'd never say I have a good ear for what sounds good. I just like beats in my ears going loud.
Yeah. Cool. I think we're coming up on time, Steve.
Yes. Guys, thank you so much for listening and tuning in as always. It'd be lovely to hear your take on Worlds. If you watched it, if you watched the live stream, or if you caught some of the athletes, if there's anyone who stood out to you, that'd be really, really cool to hear about. Like we mentioned several times, Natty_news_daily on Instagram, doing a great job there. They're also on YouTube. And I think James recently recorded like a Natty News weekly.
He did.
He probably reviewed Worlds. I haven't watched it yet. I typically watch every single one of those because I think they're just, I don't know, when you're in the scene and you enjoy it, like it's cool to see. And I know I've got even clients who are interested in competing and stuff. I think it's such a good, like, dip your feet in, see what it's about, kind of get a kind of an understanding of what the looks that are winning and where you maybe stand up or whatever it is. So definitely check that out. Of course, subscribe to us if you haven't. Share this around with anyone you think would listen and enjoy it. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time. I don't think there's anything else.
No.
Subscribe already, god damn it. That's like typically the thing that we're like, not enough of you are subscribed, but we appreciate your ears anyway.
That's true. Thanks, guys. And I guess I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.
Losing weight fast while maintaining muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality, and we know how to do it, and we will help you achieve this. The Minicut Movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut Movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.